We're a little late to the game, but Nickel Boys has been out for a couple months, and I think it has enough accolades that I think it's justified that we should have to talk about it.
Yeah, this is going to be a big, I think, a Best Picture nominee.
Right, yeah.
And I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about its various filmmaking techniques.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. Let's talk Nickel Boys.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
I am Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. And for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. Another way you can support the show, join our Patreon. We've got some great content, great deals, and of course, opportunities for tell us what movies we can review for a future episode, with of course a shout out to you as well. Kyle and I are members of the Minnesota Film Critics Association. We're going to have to get our list in pretty soon here of our best ofs. And I think Nickel Boys is going to get a lot of candidates. So let's go on with Nickel Boys. Let's talk about it.
So it's set in 1960s Florida. Two teens bond while incarcerated in the Nickel Academy, a reform school that became known for many atrocities in the decades to follow.
So it's based on a book by Colson Whitehead. It's uncovered from what transpired from 2019, finding these unmarked graves next to the, I think it's called the Dozer or something like that. And this book is kind of a fictional account of real true events. Can I describe it? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, and I mean, this is something where people were aware about some of the stuff happening all the way back in the 60s, but that's why they kind
kept
of
on going in the
70s, getting
and
away with it.
Yeah,
and they've been discovering more and more stuff almost on a yearly basis.
I'm gonna say right now, I'm probably gonna nominate this for cinematography. Which is Joe Mofrey. Yeah. Wonderful. It's nice to see cinematography almost as a character itself. Usually when you do point of view, as heavy as this movie is, it's kind of it's almost like a gimmick, right? The Lady in the Lake was the Raymond Chandler story where you constantly see from the private detective's point of view. This doesn't seem like a gimmick. This seems authentically, it seems organic.
See, it seems like a big swing to me. And Ramel Ross, who was the director, also previously did a documentary called Hale County This Morning, This Evening. I saw that a few years back. Yeah. I was not a fan of that one because it felt like it was very lost without a narrative purpose, because none of the film has a story to it. Yeah. It's basically a lot of imagery that is used to evoke that emotional connection. And Nickel Boys, again, he's taking a swing for the fences. He's doing something that is ostensibly a found footage movie.
A very heavy gamble.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it right, it seems cheap. And like I said, it seems like a gimmick, it seems like a play. Where if you do this right, it feels you can see the empathy for it. You can see,
and that's where my biggest problem comes into play, because I don't think the POV works. I think the movie is gorgeously shot, but I do not feel that connection whatsoever. And I think, I've watched the movie twice now.
Yeah,
I saw it way back in October, and I was like, as I walked out, I said, am I wrong? Because I'm seeing all this great praise for this movie, but I felt zero emotional connection to what was going on.
I feel like you get the first person. I kind of felt it.
I think I'm in the minority, but I've spoken to a couple people as well who are like that distance that was created by the camera, by someone speaking to the camera.
But then you
then
you reenact it from the different angle. You do the same scene and then you flip it.
Yeah, it was better in that way. But again, you could tell that there was an actor behind a camera reading lines and getting that back to it. And I even went as far as, after I saw it the second time, I went and read the screenplay for the film, and I loved in which the ways that they described the elements that we were seeing, and of course the dialogue and the story, I think is fantastic. Yeah. But I'm so mixed on this movie because I just did not feel anything in my heart, and that's kind of weird for me because I am usually an incredibly emotional viewer, and I just did not connect with this at all.
The one strong punch to this is the point of view of kid in the cop car, doesn't really know what's going on, and then get pulled in, and you go through all this structure from his point of view. But when it does a little bit of minus of this is going to be the whole movie. The bar scene is probably set up almost like a video game, first player account. A lot of people with a violent nature were upset with it. Almost felt like a video game point of view. It does lull, probably about the end, close to the beginning of the third act and the end of the second act. But you're supposed to feel this rather than witnessing it, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's where you're absolutely right, that the first act of the film, it didn't feel as difficult to have those connections because it was more dream logic. Yeah. And I think the film tended to focus in more than just the first person. It used that first person in kind of a unique way, when young Elwood is watching the Martin Luther King speech on the TVs and you can see his reflection. That was a beautiful shot. And I think the scene in which they're running through the field trying to escape is so incredibly impactful. In fact, most of the scenes with Daveed Diggs, who played the adult version of the character, I did like the fact that we were watching him kind of move around from the back of him.
Yeah.
I thought that worked really well. It's just those moments where they kind of bridged into that first person where I just wasn't feeling the intensity.
Well, this is why, especially for me making movies, this is why I'm going to, like, cinematography, yeah, I'll give it a nomination. Adapted screenplay? No, not really. And that's because you're heavily in the visual speaking. You're heavy in the visual language, but you have to balance the structure that you're actually trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
And I think they get so mixed into...
This story is so damn good.
Yeah.
Like, the story is fantastic. I just
and you
think
might get trapped into your own parameters of trying to be creative and fancy the entire time.
Yeah, I think if they had punches of first person... intermixed with the more traditional kind of shooting schedule for a narrative. What really worked for me actually was those moments where we weren't focused on the first person, but we had like photos, video footage, newspaper.
Right, I felt like almost like it's almost like a mixture of Moonlight and Babylon.
Yeah, kind of that collage feeling, like the ending of Babylon where they're showing like the future of cinema.
Just
like
takes it out. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just kind of this mixture of let's talk about a cinematic language. But you're kind of missing with the adapting of a story.
Yeah. I really did feel the emotional connection through those kind of scrapbook moments, the collage moments.
Yeah.
That hit me much harder, which is, again, funny because that's the thing that I kind of criticized Hale County for, was its scrapbook nature. I think he succeeded in that more. I just wish there was more of that, that more dream logic kind of appeal to it. That would have highlighted things like, I think Hamish Linklater as Spencer is a great villainous character. I think
God, yeah.
Fred Hetchinger as Harper the guy, I think he did a better job in this film than he did in Gladiator 2, playing the brother emperor, because I think that character was kind of poorly written in Gladiator 2, but he's better written here and he has more to do. I think Fred Hetchinger shines more in this film, and I think the two main actors, Turner and Elwood, Brandon Wilson and Ethan Hreese, fantastic. I think the cast is doing a great job here. It's just there's something about that filmmaking tactic where I can tell they're not speaking to each other. And that's really missing that part for me. And that's why
Somebody's
even on rewatch, I was like, I want to connect with it. I do. I was trying hard, and it didn't happen.
But the cleverness of the cinematography, I say a lot of the shots continually to be impressive.
Yeah, what's being done is great.
Yeah,
as far as how it looks. Yeah,
like I said, I think people who were going to take cinematography for film school probably see this movie. If you're taking for writing, you're probably not going to write to watch this movie.
Well, the thing about it is the cinematography, again, it's a gamble. And so viewing this movie, when you see the things that work from a cinematography perspective, I think, again, the opening few moments of the film. And
the first 15 minutes, you're like, I'm sold.
It's incredibly interesting at that point. Again, it's because you don't really know how long that thing is going to go for. Yeah. But, and then you can also see the times in which it really doesn't work. And that's kind of that interplay right there. And again, I think Anjanou Ellis-Taylor is the one that I think is doing the most
heavy lifting.
The first person. Yeah. That scene where she's cutting the cake, knowing that her son, like the child, her grandson, is going to be sent to this dangerous place. She knows what he's getting into, but she knows there's no way to stop it. I think her moments are the ones that are the best, or when she hugs the camera because she's hugging Turner.
Yep.
And trying to kind of connect with him because she can't see Elwood. I think she is, for me, the heart and soul of the film, and she's most often when it actually broke through.
Right, you need some of the kind of the characters that's not really participating into the drama, but understands the gravity to kind of almost be like a barometer to us.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of great work from her in the past few years, which is so funny because for years my only Anjanou Ellis-Taylor memories were from the movie Undercover Brother. It was a great comedy. It's fantastic.
It's just completely different.
But then then I missed her for several years, and then I see her doing all this prestige stuff, and I'm just completely lost. So,
all right. So we're a little bit mixed on Nickel Boys. I completely understand if you're going to put it in your top 10. I'm still, yeah, right. I'm there on the cusp. It's probably in my top 20 for sure. I don't know if it's going to make it my top 10. Obviously, I'm going to nominate for cinematography. But overall, we're kind of mixed on the whole picture, the whole pie of it.
I appreciate the swing. I absolutely do, and I want to see more movies that do something unique with that element.
We love that poetry, emotion, that almost dreamy but also witnessing as it happens.
Yeah, because, I mean, as you said, this movie on the whole doesn't feel unforgettable, but there are elements of it that I think are going to be unforgettable moments, which is something that you're always looking for.
Yeah.
I still have that image of the one kid from the Nickel Academy who is the boxing guy, and when they have that boxing dream of him, I can still see that to the music in my head. It's been playing on a reel for weeks.
Yeah. So you have to you have to find something that the audience can retain from it, Because if you're just going to be clever throughout the whole movie, then all of it kind of gets meshed into one, and you're like, oh, yeah, that was a good movie. But you have to have, like, some signature to it.
Yeah, there are visuals in it that are as iconic as the, like, Stargate sequence in 2001. Like, levels of just gorgeous cinematography. You remember that scene with the lights coming through the train car? And they're, like, timed to the music. Excellent work.
Right.
I just wanted more of that.
So, what do you think of our assessment of Nickel Boys? What do you rate it as a film of 2024? I know a lot of people are going to put it in their top 10.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie that's had an extremely slow unrolling in various parts of the nation. I think here in Minnesota we're getting it like this week or next week. It's finally going to drop here. So once you've seen it, let us know what you thought about it. Maybe you'll be part of the many people that love the cinematography.
Slow roll is kind of what the movie is, kind of a little bit too.
Yeah. Or maybe you'll be in the minority with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Kyle and Nick on Film. You can find my film reviews, including probably a week's old review of Nickel Boys that hasn't changed much over on GoToFilmReviews.com.
You can find my show at St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you find podcasts. And of course, we're going to do our top 10 soon in a couple weeks.